Hi, and welcome everybody to our webinar here at Chiba Cannabis Academy at Chiba Cannabis TV. So I'm your host, Lina Sibodo, co-founder of Chiba Cannabis Africa. And so basically today we're having a very interesting conversation and one that really involves the farmers and hemp farmers as well, of course. And it's an amazing opportunity that's been brought forth by an organization. uCanGrow is also part of this initiative, and we're very excited into like bringing in a lot of opportunities for the farmers, and we hope for you to all enjoy this webinar that's taking place. But before I start, I'm going to ask for Ntata Nikki from Fasa Gauteng to please come on as we just discuss a few things around the needs and the wants and expectations of farmers. Welcome, Ntata Nikki. How are you doing in that?
Hi, I'm good. I'm good. I'm happy anyway to be here anyway, having this presentation with you guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Ntata Nikki. So, Ntata Nikki, can you just give us a rough understanding of who Afasa is and what Afasa does so that people can understand out there?
Oh, thanks very much anyway for the platform. AFASA is an organization of black farmers that has been established in 2011. The job of AFASA is a farmers union doing advocacy and lobbying for the farmers to the government to assist with inputs and farmers feeds and also the infrastructure. At Afasa, we've got commodities, different commodities, the one that are doing livestock, others that are doing grain, and others are doing horticulture, others that are doing fishery, others are doing ho- maize, and so on and so on. And we cannabis is part of Afasa. Now, we group every member into a commodity where he belongs to. When we go and lobby for the government to assist these farmers, and when we know this category are the ones that they are going to be assisted maybe with seeds, these ones are going to be assisted with feed, and this one they are going to be assisted with infrastructure and so on and so on. It depends from which category the farmer are we going to put him on, or what is the needs of a farmer.
Okay, excellent. So, can you just tell us, Ntata, like, how's it been being a small scale farmer? And if that's still a term that I'm allowed to use, and how are we able to get, farmers to becoming large scale? So, can you take us through the day or the season or harvest of a farmer, please?
You know, I always tell the people that we've got different cultures in our country: Zulus, Pedis, Shangans, Venda, English, and all those things. But I belong to one culture, which is agri, and it's a culture by itself. Always when I hook up, I want to see that my stomach is full, and I'm thinking of another people that what are they going to do in way to have the whole day being agile and active. Now, to sort all this type of a thing, we need to produce food for the nation to eat. And to do that, as a small scale farmer, we need to anyway to have some study groups so that now we can belong to all the categories, and then so that we can feed the nation. That's the main thing that now always when I wake up in the morning, I think of maybe feeding our nation.
Sorry,
And
I'm
also
on.
planting at the right time. Always you must plant at the right time, and you must give your animals right feed and food so that you can be on the market. When you go to the market and go and sell, you sell the product that anyway they are lookable, and then everyone can just buy. But the main thing, we need a market, a solid market. That's the main problem that we are sitting with.
And how do you obtain this market in that? Like, what have been the measures that other farmers have utilized in order to receive this one? And also, what difficulties do you have once you've accessed that market?
Before you can start planting, you need to identify maybe a buyer, because don't plant before, or maybe produce some maybe livestock like e.g. piggery, as I'm specializing with piggery. You must have a buyer before you can start this project product. And then when you've got a buyer, at least things are better. Because if only you don't have a buyer, imagine if only you're planting cabbages, and this thing are perishable crops. Now, if only you don't have a buyer, immediately after harvesting, you'll be stuck with these things, and then the money that we have used, you'll never get it if you don't have a market before. You must first start by looking for a buyer before you can start planting. At the moment, the buyers that we are using, we go to the Joburg market, Pretoria market, Klerksdorp market, and also even do for these feeding schemes. We engage these people that they must buy from us. And then we are still lobbying with the government department like hospitals. If only we can manage to get that thing, we can feed all the patients that are there in the hospital and the market. And even for planting for the people will be having enough time and enough space where they can take their inputs from.
Excellent. No, thank you, Tati, for that and for giving us also like an insight into farming. And I think, what is your sort of vision of what the next, I would say, the next 10 years to look like for our African farmers? And what kind of opportunities do you want them to be opened up to or receiving? And then also, in what level do you wish for them to be at in the next 5 to 10 years?
In the next 5 to 10 years, I need all the small scale farmers anyway to be commercial farmers. To be a commercial farmers, we need to work like as a team. And to succeed on that, you need to belong to an organization so that now we can group one another, that we know this ones are dealing with red meat, this one are dealing with vegetables, this one are dealing with grains. And then in a period of 5 to 10 years, and we can be commercial farmers. But main thing that the most farmers are struggling with, it's a mechanization. Sometimes even planting at the right time. You find that the government anyway is offering some tractors for an area, and then one can keep the tractor for a long period, and by the time it comes to you to come and do the planting, time it will be already gone. And your produce anyway, it's gonna be less. You rather plant at a good time, and then as long as we can work as a team and have mechanization and a beautiful infrastructure, we can upgrade from small scale farmer to a commercial farmer.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you, Nan. Thank you very much, Mtate. Any last words that you want to say to the people out there listening?
The last word that I want to tell to the people that are listening here, people, join the organization. AFASA, it's a brand by itself. Now, to be a member of AFASA, you need to go to our website, www.afasahaute.co.za. You can get an application form, and then you fill up the application form so that we can categorize you and put you where you belong to. If all you are doing grains, must be on a grain people. If you are doing vegetables, must be with a vegetable group. And if you are doing red meat, you are doing what we just categorize with that. And when you go and lobby to the government for the assistance, we know that we've got so many farmers that are doing grain, so many farmers that are doing piggery, so many farmers that are doing chicken, and so on and so on. Now, it's better when we go and ask for or lobbying for you guys. We talk with one voice. But to be part of us, please go and register and be our member so that you can get an assistance promptly.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Mtate, and have a great day and happy planting and feeding.
Thanks very much. To humble myself to that.
Excellent. So we've got the next section now, which is basically talking about this opportunity for small scale farmers in order to reach the retail ones. So we've got one of our guests that's based in Cape Town. She's not able to come on right now, having some difficulties. But I've got Steve Carver here from uCanGrow. And Steve, welcome to the stage, sir.
Thanks, Linda. Thanks so much. Lovely to be on here. And lovely that you're celebrating the center of Cape Town, the real center, which is Philippi and the hub and all of those amazing people in the wind at the moment. But really lovely.
Wow. Oh, wow. So basically, can you first give us an indication of what is uCanGrow Africa and what does uCanGrow Africa do?
Sure. So we grow farmers. Very often what happens is nature, the universe, God does the farming, but what we focus on is how farmers can make money And I think there's no subject at school called how to make money. And so our process is we have 4 different models of developing farmers. And so the first one is farmers that are struggling, and all we want to do is make them stable. Once they're stable, we use different recipes to make them successful. And finally, successful farmers, how do we make them significant? And so it's really around, very often NGOs love small farmers, but actually when you talk to small farmers, most small farmers want to be successful and grow into big farmers. So we grow farming enterprises, the farmers grow the products. So this is a wonderful example at Lente here across Southern Africa, where we are doing a huge amount of real empowerment by growing farmers and helping them grow their enterprises and their businesses. And so we do not just work in one crop, we work in a number of crops. And so Boko is doing amazing work as a woman in agriculture with aggregation at the Philippi Agri Hub. And so we're missing her desperately, because this is really about her invitation to small scale and large farmers right the way across the Cape to include into supply chains that are business led and commercial, and really drive not only food security, but real resilience in our communities. And so these are lots of different pictures of what we do. And so the biggest thing to everybody who's listening is we need to start to buy local. Your wallet and what you do and the choices we make as customers and the choices that we make as other businesses, the more we localize, the better. And so that's a lot of the moral of what we do. So when you grow, you also grow the people next to you. And when your business grows, you grow your neighbors, etc. So a lot of it is around how do we try and create our town where we are creating jobs and not exporting them. Every time we're importing all of these manufactured crops and things, we're actually exporting and we're impacting our neighbors. So how do we turn that tide? And how do we understand regenerative or literally the most beautiful forms of agriculture that work with nature?
Excellent. And I think, Steve, we can touch on this opportunity that's being basically asked of the farmers to be involved in it. Can you basically unpack the Freshmark opportunity, and also who are Freshmark?
So Dr. Justy Rands and Freshmark have worked with fresh produce markets, not only in South Africa, but right into Africa. They've developed an incredible platform called Freshmark Systems that help with the buying and selling and pricing to really accelerate and aggregate farmers in cities, towns, etc. And so we have a number of municipal fresh produce markets. We have a number of private DCs and fresh produce markets, and it just makes it fair and easy for people to do business together. So they have done this for a number of years. They've got massive experience behind this. They also have massive data, and they support and help farmers in how we build better resilience with farmers into supply chains. And so we work with them. We have a technology that works with the farmer, and we link in with Freshmark Systems to make sure that we are selling at the best price. We're linking into markets and we have as little waste as possible. And so they have done massive work for a long time. They are really the hardy perennials in the game, having built amazing systems, learned. And so the Freshmark Systems is very robust. It works very well. It's tried and tested, and they've done it for a long time. So it's an amazing organization working with amazing farmers, but also working with amazing buyers at these fresh produce markets that are buying and creating more dignified livelihoods. Mm-hmm. And I think this is one of the things is what we find is where there is waste is when people aren't aligned and working together. And so a lot of what they do is the bridging and pulling together. And so that's the Freshmark system. And what we do is we help farmers understand the traceability, understand the markets, and grow for a contract rather than potluck. Because what we find is a lot of small scale farmers grow cabbages or grow spinach, which is a low value crop, and then they're all selling them at the same time. And so a lot of a hub, and what this Philippi hub is doing, is synchronizing and including as many different farmers as possible.
So how do the farmers get involved? Is it only for the region of Western Cape at this moment?
No, we are across Southern Africa. And in fact, Justy and Freshmark Systems is a part of an alliance called the Southern African Food Transformation Alliance. And that is Unilever. It's a number of amazing organizations that are working together on 4 pillars. And so they are working on how do we teach farmers future-based farming with climate change, with biodiversity collapse. The second pillar we're all working on is how do we get women and youth included into these big supply chains and not excluded? And how do we build bridges that are dignified livelihoods? So MasterCard Foundation, IDH Sustainable Trade, there are a lot of organizations that are all working like, I think Rassi calls it the bomb squad. So here is the bomb squad of agriculture and regenerative agriculture by aligning and working together into a very powerful alliance. And so all of this is right the way across Southern Africa. And so the third pillar is interesting because it's about how do we make sure our food is healthier? So mums know that what we're feeding our children and what the ingredients going into factories has got a huge amount of love and care. And the last one is we're working together to do something counterintuitive, but actually make food affordable, because we're seeing the food price going up. The minimum wage is now at parity with what a good family needs to feed their children with. And we've got a massive problem. So we're all working together to find economies of scale to make sure the farmer wins, the aggregator wins, the factories win, and most important, African families are winning with better quality, more resilient food systems.
So now, in terms of being able to have an opportunity to be part of this, initiative, how do the farmers go about doing that? Do they send an email to uCanGrow? Is there something with Freshmark Systems?
Sure.
Where are the outlets and where are the places where they can make their applications?
So what we work with partners. So the Philippi Hub with Boko is one of our partners. She is the main aggregator for that whole area. So she registers farmers. So if you link in the Western Cape with her, she will include and register, because we don't do traditional transactional deals anymore. We only want developmental relationships where we grow together. And so we need to show traceability. So farmers have got to be registered on the uCanGrow Africa system. And we work with extension services and aggregators and partners who then register farmers. And that group or collection of farmers supply into a hub, which again makes it a lot cheaper. And so we are trying to de-risk it for farmers, for aggregators, and for the markets. And so you can't just go online and register. You can always go and ask info@ucangrow.africa for information on your closest hub or champion. And those hubs then register farmers so that we can work together as a choir or as a team. And that collective makes the efficiencies together, even to the extent of having Uber drones, Uber tractors, Uber dryers, Uber decortifiers. So it's to make it easier for the farmer, but making it easier for the farmer brings together farmers that are no longer competing with each other, but they're actually collaborating.
Excellent. And it looks like our guest she's jumped in from the Philippi Hub of Bukwe. Are you there, my sister? Can you hear us? If you just unmute yourself, we'd really love you to have the opportunity to talk from your perspective as you'll be speaking to the farmers. Can you hear us there? This is
the deaf. Applause for the deaf. Boko is an amazing woman in agriculture. We need more amazing women.
Where is she now? So if you can just unmute yourself. There should be an unmute button. It looks like a microphone if you're coming from your cell phone. So we can just hear your words there.
Thank you, Steve. But I don't think you can hear me.
We can hear you. We can hear you. Just that we can't see you, but that's fine. Like, we'll go with your audio. So basically,
Can you
Steve
hear
has
me
just
now?
given.
Oh my
Yes, very
goodness.
loud and clear. So Steve has given
You
us
got
sort of
me.
like
Oh, oh
yes.
my goodness. Good morning, everyone. Molweni.
Can you hear us? Can you hear us? Hello, can you hear us? Yes,
Yes,
we
I
can.
can hear you loud.
Okay, perfect. Can you? So Steve has just told us about the system. So what would you like to say to the farmers, and what should they expect in terms of what the opportunity brings for them?
Okay, now I can't hear you.
Okay, we can still hear you. Can we try one more time? Hello?
You saw you. Okay, now I can hear you again. Oh my gosh, guys. Hey.
Okay, we can hear you loud and clear. Just go for it. Tell us about the opportunity for the farmers. What should they say? What should they expect?
Oh, yes. Okay. Well, everybody, firstly, Molweni, hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining. So it's taken quite a long time to get through, and now we are rolling out that, of course, you can grow with Freshmark Systems. And you've heard from one of my favorite people, Steve, already, who has explain what it is that's happening on his side. But it's a supplier development program that we have with Freshmark Systems, whereby we are trying to assist and help out and support, actually, support is the right word, the small scale farmers in Cape Town, around the Western Cape, so that they can be able to have an access to large markets. And the large markets would be like your, sorry, I'm switching off my video, which will be like your Epping Market, Cape Town Market, those who do know about it, different retailers as well. And yeah, different restaurants around here in Cape Town, and then eventually throughout the whole of things are happening in the agricultural world and transforming, and they actually showing that inclusivity that we've been thriving for and wanting to have, especially for the small scale farmer, because I support small scale farmers, and the most support that I realize that they truly need, besides the development of their farms, which is where uCanGrow comes in, but it's also having access to different markets so that you can make money. Because there's no point in you having this business if it's actually not growing and it's not providing you the income that you need for yourself as well as to support your family. So that's me. That's what's
Okay,
happening.
excellent. And thank you for sharing out this opportunity. And I'm sure you're going to get a lot of people requesting what should they do? Where is the Philippi hub located? And how
Hello.
do farmers make a request to join? Did you hear the question?
This is great, actually. And thank you very much, Linda, for putting all of this together. Honestly, it looks stunning.
No, thank you very much. So no, I think we sort of got the gist of it, and thanks so much for that. And so guys, we're not only going to be talking about this the veg opportunity as well. There's also another opportunity that's been also put onto the table, and that brings our next guest to the platform, and that's Kian, who's all the way from Eswatini at the moment. Hi Kian, how you doing? Also, you're on mic. You're on mute there.
There we go. Apologies. Good morning. All good. How are you this morning?
Thank you very much for joining us. So, Kian, please tell us where you're from and what you're representing, and also what is this opportunity?
Thank you. So today I'm wearing a hat of the Agricultural Hemp Consortium SA, which is a company that is aggregating hemp farmers, providing offtakes, both the local and international. Primarily, we focus on flour, although we have an interesting arrangement developing with Steve and uCanGrow, with our waste material being the stalks, which can be used for other industrial purposes. But our main function is providing offtake for farmers that grow either hemp for food or for medicine, so for nutritional products or for complementary medicines. That's our primary focus. Thanks, Linda.
And then when you talked about flowers, I think if we can just define for the viewers who are also potential farmers who are also interested in the opportunity that you're about to announce, what is the difference between flower and then also stalk, and then what are the other different sort of products that can be derived from hemp, so everyone understands that it's not just one thing that you're looking for in particular?
Okay, so thanks. You have the main stem. Whether you're growing hemp or cannabis, it's the planting density that determines the shape of the flower or the shape of the plant. So if you plant at a very high density with the plants very close to each other, they fight each other for light, so they grow very tall and very thin. And those are best suited for industrial purposes where long fibers are required. And generally, you'll get one flower, one cola. I don't know how else to describe that other than with a diagram, that comes at the top of that plant. So it can, generally, whatever planting density you have, you can get a bit of a dual crop. So you have the long stem, and that stem is then used for the hurd and the fiber for various applications. And the flower that's on top, the flower and the leaves, are used for either nutritional or medicinal products. And so, for example, the way in which we harvest, depending on density, is either by hand or mechanized, and we will then strip off the leaves and the flower, and that goes for either the nutritional products, so generally to get dried and then milled and mixed in with a number of different feed applications. So what we've been doing a lot of research on is chicken feed. And we believe that there's an enormous opportunity for the poultry industry in South Africa. They love hemp and they grow very, very fast and strong and healthy when they eat hemp. But there are hundreds of different applications to human and animal superfoods that are made from the leaves and the flower. And of course, what's quite famous that we already know is from the seeds. So the seeds have a very high level of protein, but then there are lots of other phytonutrients, cannabinoids and others that are in the leaf and in the flower. Thanks. Is there anything else I should add, Linda?
Sorry, I put myself on mute and I forgot to unmute myself. Yes, that's perfect. Yeah. I wanted to find out now how big is offtake that you put on the table, and then who should actually apply for it, and how should they do so?
Sorry, I missed the beginning. How big is you broke up?
The offtake. I remember there's a couple of 100 tons or so.
Yeah, so I mean, we have very large offtakes, far more than South Africa can currently can cater for. So right now it's 4,500 tons per year, and that is for flour that's going for extract. So basically, it's a rough strip of the stems, and then the small stems, flower and leaf, as biomass, flour biomass. We put those into super sacks, about 23 to a container, and those then get exported to the United States for extraction. But there is also large European markets that are opening up. South Africa has the opportunity, because of cost of production, to be manufacturing products, final form products, at a low cost here in South Africa. So what we're encouraging is obviously for South Africans to manufacture for export of finished goods, but also for international partners to move their global manufacture to South Africa because of experience, skill in the industry, and a lower cost of production, while still maintaining very high quality standards.
Excellent. So I guess, Steve, this is for you. How are you involved in this, or how is uCanGrow involved in this initiative with the Agri? Was it the Agri? Sorry, Kian, what was your organization? I forgot now. Was it the Agri Agri-Hemp Consortium, sorry.
So we work with them around developing the farmers. So we come from two angles. We're a partner on offtakes, so we're very keen on fiber. And so we are increasing the ability for farmers to have a broader revenue stream other than just one part of the plant, but more parts of the plant, and basically a waste product. And then we help grow the farmers. And so again, it's a developmental program, not just a transactional one. So what we find in growing farmers is you need more than one revenue stream. And so it's not just one crop, although hemp and hemp flour is an amazing solution. The next year, your potato yields are better, your regenerative practices in this. And so this is a really lovely combination because there is a bigger vision than monoculture and one crop. The bigger vision is growing farmers, looking at biodiversity, regenerating our soils, having healthier communities. And so we're totally aligned with Druid's Garden in looking at a bigger picture and a people-centric, community-centric approach, which is really saying, how do we grow farmers and families beyond just one crop, and how do we maximize that? And so it's really an incredible win-win situation because there is an offtake, the right expertise in hemp, in the right genetics, in the right things, but we're looking at how do we increase the opportunity for small-scale growers, and then what do they grow in between that? How do we add different crops into that? And so it's really taking a safe pair of hands and saying, how do we develop future farmers and how do we develop communities and groups of farmers to work together? And so, again, we're not looking at monoculture, we're looking at a broad range of offtakes. We're looking at this is one agricultural crop, and then how do we maximize that for farmers, for aggregators, and for value chains? And then what are the other crops that we can bring in there to really grow our land, our earth, our water, our communities? And so it's a wonderful relationship. Kian, I'm not sure if you can hear me because I couldn't hear you when you were speaking. I think it's the system. I saw you doing pasta and spaghetti.
Those are different stalks. Yeah, the stalks and the different requirements.
So we're using uCanGrow with farmer development, with Kian and all of his opportunities. And then we're looking at the other side to say, how do we build products like this so that we've actually got hemp products, flooring, housing, poles, etc., that we're buying the fiber, we're using it, and we're pulling it through. So we're de-risking these value chains by being together.
Awesome. No, thanks for that, Steve. And I'm just gonna break into a little bit of a break, like a quick ad break. So if some of the people that are watching in the audience, just please have one or two questions that are available. I will take your questions. Just a quick ad break before we go into the next section. Thank you.
The cannabis and hemp industries are one of the most important sectors of our time.
Apart from the immense potential to drive job creation, foster small business development, and strengthen our domestic economy,
The industry also plays a crucial role in advancing the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, making its global growth both essential and unstoppable. At Chiba Cannabis and Hemp Academy, we provide a range of courses that cover the entire supply chain, including
our one-year higher certificate in cannabis production and management is Africa's first and only higher education accredited course, offered full-time at our beautiful campus in Rivonia, Johannesburg.
our national certificate in plant production, cannabis and hemp, is delivered in partnership with Agri-Colleges International. The course is online, so you can study from anywhere in the world, and it includes a 7-day immersive experience on a working cannabis farm. And of course, our flagship 12-week full-time course, hosted at our Rivonia campus and delivered by 35 expert lecturers. Each of our programs combines strong practical training with hands-on industry immersions, giving you the opportunity to visit leading cannabis businesses to increase your network.
But we don't just teach cannabis and hemp, our curriculum also integrates mindfulness, critical thinking, futurism, nutrition, future farming, and essentially life skills empowering you to thrive in a rapidly changing world.
As mechanization and AI continue to transform the job market, there's never been a better time to secure your future in this exciting, dynamic, and purpose-driven industry.
Join Africa's leading cannabis and hemp educator.
It will change your life
Forever.
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 Serious.
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 Cool. So basically, a lot of the questions that I'm seeing here are about contact details and websites. So if you registered using the link that was sent out, then we'll have your email details and so on. So we'll send out an email with all the information that was sent out to here. And then also the recording will also be available on our YouTube page, which is Chiba Cannabis TV. So if any of you have missed anything and maybe you're out farming and you want to send a farmer this information, then that's the one. So I've got a question here. Probably this one is for you, Kian. They're asking about genetics. They're asking the difference between hemp and cannabis genetics. And would there be a genetics supplied for the offtake? How will that work if, let's say, I'm a farmer, I've got 10 hectares, and I'm ready to start, being involved in this project? Would you help me with seed selection, et cetera, et cetera?
Great, thanks, Linda. Good question. A common one we hear. So the difference between hemp and cannabis is purely the THC level. It's one plant, it's still cannabis, but hemp, the word hemp is used when there is less than 2% THC, which is the psychoactive compound in cannabis, less than 2% THC. Just to mention that South Africa has the highest in the world. If you are exporting, you need to be very aware of what those tolerance levels are in other countries around the world. So, for example, Europe is only 1%, and America is 0.3%. So when one is selecting the strains or the varieties of hemp that one cultivates, it's critical to understand what markets you are targeting and what seeds you're going to need for that market. Also, one then needs to look at not just the market or the country destination in terms of compliance, but the type of product that you are manufacturing. Are you going for something that is a big bulk biomass, or are you looking for a more refined product like for the smokables market? Hemp for smoking has become very big in Europe as an alternative to tobacco. And so it is sold the same way in which cannabis is sold, other than it doesn't get you high. So there are many entry points into the market, from just a very rough outdoor grown biomass, which gets used for extraction, to a tunnel grown smokable flower that gets sold for a much higher amount. So yes, we do provide seeds, but there's quite a vetting process to ensure that the farmer is ready to be able to plant. From an infrastructural point of view, there's certain infrastructure that one requires, like irrigation, clean soil and water, and then of course drying facilities. So normally we would assess the facility, look at soil and water conditions, look at what existing infrastructure there is on site. We'll do a bit of a due diligence with the farmer and see if the farmer has the capacity to be able to fulfill the grow. We are there as the technical partners to assist the farmer, but we do not fund the farmer. We will advance the seeds, and obviously that comes at a cost to us, so we will only give seeds to farmers that we feel are confident to be able to deliver. And again, that's where Steve's project in uCanGrow plays such an important role, being able to help the developmental aspects of these farmers. So that's where we work very closely to help those farmers, with uCanGrow, to help those farmers develop. But if we are going to give you an offtake, we will supply you with the seeds, and we will supply you with the technical partnership to be able to ensure that you meet the quality that is required. So there's an email address, Linda, I don't know if you want to give that out now or later, where you can send some information, and we'll send you a basic questionnaire that will help us to better understand what facilities you have, what infrastructure you have, and what you need to get planting. Thanks.
Thanks for that, Kian. And yes, we will share all that out to our mailer, to everybody, and also the link to this video so you can watch again. I think also the other thing that everyone's asking, Steve, is this only an opportunity that's offered in Western Cape? You did mention it's a national one. So how do people get involved on the national scale? How do they find the uCanGrow hubs?
So if they go on to info or just our website, uCanGrow.africa, you like umbrella, you can send something to info and we can get back to you, and info@uCanGrow.africa. If you are in Zimbabwe, we have partners in Zimbabwe. If you're in Botswana, we have partners in Botswana. And through our website, we can steer you in the right direction. If you're in Zambia, Mozambique, Namibia, Tanzania, Kenya, we can share all of those partners that we're working with.
Okay, excellent. And those also will be shared out with everybody else that's out there. I think also just to emphasize what Steve had mentioned about using hemp as a sort of like for soil rotation as well as for soil remediation. I think also farmers, in terms of around the feeding, I mean, Kian did mention about the chicken feeding around it. What is needed for us to encourage farmers to get into the hemp space? Let's say their interest is not really in, the farming and harvesting of it, but purely from a nutritional fertilizing, making the soil more robust kind of point of view. What can we say to farmers for that? I think I'll point that to you and Kian, if you're both happy to answer that.
Thanks, Linda. So I think that, when you look at the mining sector, and South Africa has been a mining economy for so long, we've got what we call forever mines, which is in indigenous land where people have prospected or mines, those mines have collapsed. What we're finding with hemp is it's one of the best ways of changing and remediating land full of toxicity back into agricultural land. And so there is a huge opportunity. We also see in certain areas where the landrace varieties make fantastic fiber. It's just the planting mechanism of doing that. And so hemp is an incredible crop for Southern Africa. It's an incredible crop for farmers, but it's not just one crop. You've got to suddenly realize that when we are putting those deep, amazing roots back into our soils, it's rebuilding the diversity so that the nutrition of every other crop is improved. And, a lot of people are now doing nutritional tests for traceability to say a beautiful carrot grown organically in the Eastern Cape is more valuable than 300 carrots grown commercially in a kind of a chemical soup. And so I think for very often we have to understand where we are rich and where we are poor, because there's an illusion. And the secret to farming is you have to be rich in community. We might be poor in iPhones, but we're rich in community. And it is when we are acting collaboratively, and I think seeing your first speaker with Nikki, with a fast.
Oh, seems like we've lost you, Steve. He was coming at a good point there, I think. So Kian, sorry, can you jump in there quickly and just chat about the sort of like the positive uses of hemp on the field of farmers and some of the examples that you can share, some practical ones?
Sure. So hemp in and of its own is a great crop for farmers to generate revenue. But as Steve was touching there, it has far-reaching other benefits where you can use it to clean your soil. So if you have dirty soil like mines he was talking about, but to be able to clean your soil and reinvigorate it so that you use hemp as part of your crop rotation. And whatever you plant after you've planted a season of hemp will grow extremely well. Now, when you're growing hemp, you don't necessarily need to sell the hemp. You can utilize it yourself. And so I'll give an example of a lady we did some research with a couple of years ago in KZN. She grows rabbits, and she supplies rabbits to Woolworths for rabbit meat. And she was spending X amount on her feed for her rabbits, and she was getting a particular yield over time in weight. And when she started growing hemp and feeding that hemp directly to her rabbits grew much faster. They had more I'm not sure what you call it. They had more kids, what you call it, baby rabbits. They had more rabbits. They grew faster, and at the end of their period that they were with her, for X amount of weeks, they actually weighed more, and they were healthier. So in essence, what she did by just introducing hemp, she was able to lower her input costs on her feed, dramatically increase her yield, and then, of course, what that did is it made her profit margin in between much, much higher. So she wasn't trying to find new markets for the hemp that she grew on her farm. She utilized that on her own farm as part of a circular economy. So you don't have to look for a market. And again, this is one of the things that we love about uCanGrow. This is part of the developmental aspect, is helping farmers to understand is that you don't necessarily have to grow your hemp and then go out and look for a market. There are other ways of keeping it within your ecosystem, as we said, for soil remediation, animal feed, and you end up spending much less money on feed, on vets, and your animals are much healthier and they grow much faster. So there are hundreds and hundreds of different applications for hemp, if not thousands, and many ways in which you can approach it. So the value of a partnership between uCanGrow and Druids Garden and Agricultural Hemp Consortium is exactly that, to help the farmer better understand this landscape and have better access. Okay, Steve, you're back. I was trying to finish off where you left, but not as good as you. Thanks.
No, thanks. Also, we have the email down here for the agricultural hemp consortium. And yeah, so you guys can just bang out an email there, and then the Kian and the team will get back to you in terms of assisting you, and then we'll send through the other information on the other side of things. So could I then ask in terms of not really, I would say, like, get a crystal ball and have a projection, but in terms of what are we hoping to achieve with these initiatives? So Steve, as you sit at the very sort of like starting point, the grassroots level of it, one, how is this going to change the livelihoods of our farming communities in terms of opportunity? And then number two, in terms of the environmental impact that we're hoping to achieve and see, what is that sort of like ideal that we're hoping for? And will our economy be living in a better space for doing so?
So Linda, I was with many amazing people at the Cannabis Expo this weekend, and what I saw was amazing products. People were making chocolate with hemp. They were doing the most unbelievable things where we are Wakandarizing. And I think it comes into manufacturing. I think growing without a value stream is always going to fail. And what we've done in Africa is we've sold our commodities and we've imported manufactured goods. We need to change that around. We have to invest in manufacturing. We have to invest in made in Africa. And if there's a couple of words to remember, I think proudly grown, manufactured, and celebrated in Africa is probably the most important thing. And so, when you have farmers that are producing into something that the community celebrates, that they value, that they buy, that is a medicine, that is fixing our soils, that is doing all of these things, I think that is where we really want to be. We don't want the wealth leaving. We want to create wealth in our own communities. And so one of the bottlenecks has been investment into the manufacturing side in all of these areas. And I think the more we invest in entrepreneurs that are buying produce from farmers and selling and aggregating, and it started with a hub in Philippi. And when you look at amazing women that are aggregating, stepping up, doing this, linking Freshmark Systems, you have to celebrate them, but they need to be supported. These are the very projects that will create 1,000 families to 10,000 families in the Western Cape growing, because it's being aggregated, sought after, it's got global traceability, and it is moving through a system. And so I like the last word in agriculture, which is culture. And I think one of the most important things is we need to change our own culture first. Buy local. When you see the most unbelievable entrepreneurs that are developing and manufacturing, what I'm seeing in townships with the cannabis township incubators and the produce that they're doing, it's more than world class. In fact, the innovation is unbelievable. When you start to look at the oxygen healing products, you suddenly realize we're onto something that is exportable. When you see all of these amazing products, when you see that they're healthy, it's not a vape, this is something radically different, I get so excited because that means farmers benefit, the land benefits. We care more, and it's about agency. The more we empower ourselves, maybe we're doing a spiritual journey, because I think the spiritual journey is when you love your earth, when you love your community, that resonance comes through in the products, it comes through in what we eat. And so, the culture of agriculture is incredibly important. But it means every single person has got to go, I don't want this imported thing that might be cheap from China. Who are the entrepreneurs in our own community, and how do we put our money there? Because it stays in our communities. And so we have to develop a culture where we celebrate our artists, we celebrate our own culture, we celebrate ourselves as much as possible, because that is building better resilience with our farmers. And that for me is really exciting. And the more entrepreneurs in manufacturing, the more suction there is for better pricing for farmers. So, it is called a value chain, but it takes a community, it takes a whole village to raise a farmer.
100%. 100%. No, that makes sense, Steve. And yourself, Kian, any last tidbits that you can give us in terms of the visions that you have with hemp and also with this collective sort of like supply into our ecosystem as well as into our offshore industries? Also, are you on mute at the moment?
Oh, thanks. Well spotted. So I have enormous hope in the potential of hemp. I think it requires a lot more assistance from government, from states, to be able to assist farmers with the infrastructure that's required to properly take advantage of this opportunity. I think in a lot of countries around the world, government has been a lot more involved in helping to provide the resources to uplift farmers. I know that we have a very hard time, I'm sure that uCanGrow does too, raising funds to be able to develop farmers. So we see an enormous opportunity, but we are encouraging both government and private sector to get a lot more involved in assisting the farmers on the ground, where one can see very tangible results. So there's an enormous opportunity, but that opportunity requires more coordination, definitely a lot more support from government, private sector, but then also for farmers associations and for communities to work together is absolutely important. So I think, yes, in terms of food, in particular, nutritional products for humans and animals is where I see a huge growth opportunity for South Africa.
Awesome. I think the operative word there is really looking at this collective initiative. I think we need to stop thinking about this capitalistic viewpoint of competing with your next door neighbor. In actual fact, there's just so much opportunity for farmers currently right now with the food security, with climate change, and then also like with, as Steve loves to say, climate resilience farming. And we can only understand what's going on out there if we all collectively share that information. So as said again, guys, thanks again for coming on, and we will be sharing all that information with everyone that basically signed up to be part of this webinar. Cool. So I'll bid you all adieu. Thank you very much. And yeah, so that's it, ladies and gentlemen, and farmers out there. So if you missed out on this video, and please just note that we will send you the link, as well as all the other information that was mentioned by our guests. And also, I think in terms of what we are looking at here at Chiba Africa, we're not just focused on cannabis. We're focused on, the wellness of our planet, as well as the wellness of our human beings, spiritually and physically. and mentally, of course. And we believe at looking at agriculture from a holistic point of view. I see cannabis and hemp as part of the agricultural value chain. We do know people like to, separate it as a separate entity, but it's still pretty much planting something into the ground and then harvesting it for human consumption or for usage in industrial purposes. But nonetheless, the human is the end result. And I think end of the day is that we need to all, intuitively and also collaboratively think about what it is that we're doing, and also how we can involve more people into it to make it a success. As stated many times on this platform, it takes a village, it takes a community in order for us to do this. And our whole village society, our whole village community of living is somehow has been disrupted, obviously, with our communities leaving and going out into town to look for work. But in actual fact, those opportunities are at home, but we just need the support. It is election times. Our politicians will be coming out to campaign at your village, at your township, at your city hall, at your villages. Please ask them to see what are they saying and what they're going to be doing about our small-scale farmers and being able to enable them to start, operating and interacting with these value chains. It is your right as a South African to have a dignified livelihood. It is your right as a South African to receive safe food that's grown locally and that's not going to cause any harm to your community. And it is your right as a South African and as an African in order to be able to make your own money and not have to be dependent on any large-scale corporations, as we have been given the beautiful land and the great elements that have in our country. So please utilize those to enable yourselves to realize a great opportunity in making a living and income for yourself. Without further ado, thank you for everybody who came on, and also sorry for all the technical glitches, but hopefully the essence of what was needed to be presented here today has been received. I thank Afasa Gauteng, and Dr. Nikki, that's our chairperson. I thank uCanGrow from Steve Carver. I thank the African Agricultural Hemp Consortium from Kian, and also Freshmark from Bukiwe and her team out at the Agri Hub. So yes, without further ado, let's go, and please have a great and safe rest of the day with the new week. And also remember to please go out there and fill up your tank, because the petrol price is going up yet again. Good night, good afternoon or good evening or wherever you are from. Goodbye.